Let's talk about pitching. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines pitch as a black or dark, vicious substance obtained as a residue in the distillation of organic materials and especially tars. Yeah, I don't think that's the kind of pitch we're talking about. But in the grand scheme of things, trying to whittle down your gigantic book you just spent who knows how long writing can feel like you're stuck in a big pile of tar. Whether you're querying a letter that's about 250 words, or you're entering a contest like Pitch Madness or Pitch Wars where you need a 35 to 50 word pitch, or maybe it's a Twitter contest and you only have 140 characters to say, hey agents, this is what my book's about, this is what makes a difference, and you want to ask me something. But even if it feels like whittling down your book to a nice succinct pitch is torture, it is very necessary in this industry to be able to say what your book is in like a breath. Say you're at a conference and you see your dream agent and the dream agent's in the elevator with you and they're like, hey, you're an author, what are you writing? Well, you see, there's a lot of themes. Let me just tell you, when it comes to your pitch, no one wants to know about all your themes or subplots or 1,000 different characters. All we really want to know is who's your main character, what does he want or need to do, and what happens if that doesn't happen. It's called the stakes, and it took me forever to learn this because I thought I had one of those books that's like, well, there's a lot going on, you see. But no, you just had to whittle it down. The best way to understand stakes is to really just visualize it like a big gigantic ribeye in front of you. Want to know the meat of your story, nothing else. Just the meat and the bare bones. Like a steak. A boy in wizarding school must destroy the Dark Lord or the world will end. Harry Potter. Boy must accept duty as the receiver of memories or watch a little child die. The Giver. Strange girl on internet makes videos about writing and must choose to post it. If she fails, she will be alone forever. Story of my life. Just kidding, I'm not that pathetic. Obviously, you want to have a little more than that in your pitch, but you get the idea. Boil it down, and whatever's left, when you really, really dig down deep, that's your pitch. Now, if you're like me, maybe you had this moment where you're like, wow, I don't actually know my stakes. And that did happen to me before I got my agent, and before I met my Pitch Wars mentor. The reason I didn't know my stakes enough was because I actually didn't know my main character enough. And it was through revising that I realized what the true meat of my story was about. After I wrote, draft 5. And that's okay too. If you haven't gotten your book to that place yet, just revise, work it. Till you know what your stakes are. Also, in a general pitch, it's good to know your age group and your genre, which age group and genre are not the same thing. If you're writing a young adult book, it is not a young adult genre. You can write young adult contemporary, young adult fantasy, young adult urban fantasy, young adult romance. You get the picture. If you're finding that you're having trouble knowing what your genre or subgenre or age group is, it's time to do some research. You need to read books and have other people read your book to figure out for you. That's 2 fingers. The number one thing I learned about pitching is that sometimes we're just too close to our own book. And that's where other writers come in handy. Having other people read your pitch or your book and then write a pitch for you, like what do you think it's about? That's so helpful because they're looking at your book from a further away perspective. One time I was reading a friend's query who I absolutely loved the book that she had written, and I realized we actually thought the books were about completely different things. That doesn't mean one of us is right or wrong. It just means that when it came to the pitch, I would have pitched her book differently than she was pitching it. And then eventually after workshopping together, it was a pretty fantastic pitch. You need to workshop your pitch with other people. So whether you're writing a short pitch, a long pitch, or even just a query letter, make sure you know what your book is about on such a deep, this is going to sound contradictory, a deep surface level. Surface level in that this is the bare bones of what it's about, but deep in that it is what's going to carry the book all the way through. Also, remember to make sure that your pitch is not so vague that it could be about any book. If you say girl falls in love with a vampire and needs to get through high school, you probably described a whole genre of books. Also, if there's a secret in your book, don't be afraid to actually tell it in the pitch. Saying a boy must decide if he can reveal his true self to prom date or face the dance alone is not as strong as boy must decide to share with prom date that he's a werewolf or go to the dance alone. I mean, come on, that's a little more interesting, don't you think? Secrets will not help you in the pitch. Be blunt, be like, this is my book, and bam, here it is. May the pitch be with you, and remember, dig down deep, figure out what your book is, work with other writers, and then just throw it out there. This has been Nikki with Whiskey, Wine, and Writing. Visit us at whiskeywinewriting.com for all your writerly people needs, and, check us out once a week for our weekly webcast. Talk to you soon, and have a wildly creative day.